13th verse, found on page 187. Would you please stand if you're able? I can do all things through him who strengthens me. And then from 2 Corinthians, the 12th chapter, starting with 7b through 10, page 175. It's the top of page 175. Therefore, to keep me from being too elated, a thorn was given me in the flesh, a messenger of Satan, to torment me, to keep me from being too elated. 3 times I appealed to the Lord about this, that it would leave me, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. So I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may dwell in me. Therefore, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities for the sake of Christ. For whenever I am weak, then I am strong. This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
You may be seated.
I invite you to join with me as we sing Spirit of the Living God. It's found on page 303 of the red hymnal, Spirit of the Living God. And as you sing these words, I ask you to reflect on them and the power they have in your life. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Melt me, mold me, fill me, use me. Spirit of the living God, fall afresh on me. Well, without looking, who can tell me what the title of the sermon is? The Big Lie. I bet that's got your curiosity, hasn't it? The Big Lie. Here we are at Advent, and the preacher's talking about lying. Well, as you know, Advent is a time of preparation, especially, I think, for the coming of the Lord. What we call the second coming. And last week we talked about, with the sermon title, It's No Time to Doze. It's no time to doze. And specifically, we talked about how to be prepared for, how to stay alert for Jesus' second coming. And we learned it's not a physical alertness that we're talking about, it's a spiritual alertness. And we focused in particular on being alert by helping those in need. By giving of our presence, our time, our abilities, our talent, our attention, and not just our money. You'll remember, as we've said already in this sermon, and as I said in the sermon series before, Christmas ain't your birthday. It's Jesus' birthday. And so as we think about Advent, we think about Christmas, what I want you to think about is giving to Jesus. And the way you give to Jesus is by helping others. If you don't remember anything else, remember that. It's a way to give and honor Jesus. It's also, at the same time, a way to get prepared for His second coming. Now, this Sunday, I'm going to talk about what I call the big lie, and that is the reasons we don't or won't or refuse to help those in need by giving of ourselves. I got this idea from reading a segment of an interview and then a comment by another person. The interview took place between Bill Moyers and Robert Penn Warren, who at that time was the poet laureate for the United States. The comment that was made about the question and answer in the interview was made by a lady whose name is Barbara Kinsolver. a prolific writer and award-winning writer dealing with social issues. Here's the question that Moyers asked to Warren. Sir, as one of our leading writers and philosophers, can you tell me how we can resolve the terrible crises that surround us? Decaying cities, terrible health care, terrible crisis in education and in housing, and so much poverty. Warren's answer to Bill. Well, Bill, for a beginning, I think it would be a good idea if we would stop lying to one another. Let that sink in for a moment. Stop lying to each other. And then we have a comment that Barbara Kingsolving made after that question and answer. And it becomes more personal as you listen to her comment. This is it. This is all. We so desperately avoid looking at the truth square on, much less saying it out loud, because it's uncomfortable for us to go on about our days in relative luxury while people next door to us are dying for lack of shelter. Civic pride can lose its luster when reality is allowed a place at the table. I find it unspeakably hard to walk past someone whose life would be improved noticeably by the amount of spare change I could find on the floorboard of my car. But we manage, we who are lucky enough to walk on by. The big lie to me is the one, not that we tell others, it's the one we tell ourselves when we say, when confronted with opportunities to help those in need, I can't do that. I'm not qualified, I'm not gifted, I'm not able. Whatever the it might be, that's usually our response. You see, I'm not qualified, or I can't help someone in need because I don't know how to, or I don't know where to go to help meet the need. Or I can't study the Bible because I don't know it very well. So I won't go to Bible studies, and I won't go to Sunday school. I can't serve on the worship committee, the mission committee, the evangelism committee, the finance committee, the trustee committee, the hospitality committee, the staff parish relations committee, or the administrative council. I'm just not qualified. I can't possibly head up and you fill in the blank, the effort the church needs so desperately. I can't help the children or youth. I can't share my faith with others. You know, I don't speak very well in public. That ought to resonate with you. Somebody tried that once with God. You're a little slow on that. I'm glad somebody was able to grasp that. I can't pray out loud, so I won't go to the Monday evening prayer time at 6 o'clock to pray for others. I won't go to the prayer meeting held on the last Tuesday of the month at 7:30, the sanctuary. I won't go to the 6:30 a.m. Tuesday through Friday prayer time with a preacher in the prayer room. Or I won't go on Sunday morning to pray with the preacher and others at 8 o'clock in the prayer room. You see, I just can't pray out loud. Now, I speak this way because I've had personal experience with a big lie. I know what it is because I've told it more than once myself. Just as an example, when Pam and I were first married, when I was in law school, we joined University Methodist Church in Austin. We had one car, and that presented a problem because Pam wanted to go to Sunday school and then to worship, and I refused to go to Sunday school because I did not want to expose my ignorance about the Bible and religious things. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I had a fear about that. So the end result was Pam couldn't go to Sunday school like she'd always done all her life. Because she couldn't possibly get there, come back and get me, and go back in time, go to worship. So I kept her from that opportunity for 2 years because I can't, or I couldn't, or I wouldn't. That changed when we moved to Corpus Christi after graduation from law school, and we bought Pam a second car, so guess what she did in that first Sunday in St. Louis when we joined? She went to Sunday school, and I stayed home. I did that for a couple of weeks, but after a while I got shamed. And I went to Sunday school. It was not because of the Holy Spirit. Well, it may have been because of the Holy Spirit, but I think I felt really guilty. So why is it that you and I continue repeatedly to tell the big lie to ourselves? as we refuse the opportunity to help others in need, to really help Jesus, and to give Him the gift that He would love to receive, especially at Christmas. Why is that? Well, perhaps our text this morning can give us some guidance. The first little verse is from Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Him who strengthens me. Paul is writing this in the letter to the church at Philippi. It's about 61 AD. He's in prison. He's really writing the church to thank them for money they sent him for his use while he was under house arrest in Rome. But then he gives us that verse that is so applicable to our situation with the big line. I can do all things through Him who gives me strength. Now you know who the Him is, right? The Him is who? Jesus. Where's Catherine Dolphus when you need her? Jesus. Prayer room. Catherine, I hope you heard that, girl. And Paul recognizes that everything that he's been able to accomplish, traveling the world over in the face of great hardships and great difficult landscapes, winning converts, building churches, writing letters of encouragement, enduring great physical hardships like beatings by rods, whippings with lashes, arrests and imprisonment, stoning, shipwrecks, being bitten by a snake, and starvation. That all of that happened and he was able to get through it and accomplish it because God, through Jesus Christ, gave him the strength and the ability. Paul did not do it on his own. He couldn't have done it on his own. William Barclay, that great commentator on the New Testament, says this about this particular passage, and I love this. He says, Paul was God sufficient. Paul was God sufficient. He could face anything in any situation because he had Jesus with him. And so the man or woman, Barclay goes on to say, who walks with Christ can cope with anything. The man or woman who walks with Christ can cope with anything, accomplish anything. And then we have the text from 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Paul has gone on previously and he was described being caught up to the third heaven, being up in heaven with the Lord. It had to be a wonderful experience. He's not allowed to talk about it. And he says because of that experience and the pride he felt from it, he was given a thorn in his side. Now, commentators have tried to guess what it is. There are lots of suggestions. Nobody knows. But it was such a bad thorn, it affected him apparently physically, and he prayed 3 times for the Lord to remove it. But Jesus gives him a response. My power is sufficient for you, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. My grace is sufficient for you because my power is made perfect, and we might add, in your weakness. So Paul is able to go on and boast of being weak because he says that when I'm weak, in effect, paraphrase, Jesus makes me strong. He says in verse 10, he knew that for the sake of Christ, whenever he was weak, Jesus would make him strong. And the phrase I want you to remember is for the sake of Christ. For the sake of Christ. Well, what do when we are confronted with these opportunities of service to help those in need, and we begin to look at our own abilities and decide we're a little short? The first thing to recognize is that we are given these opportunities for the sake of Christ. I've got my paper way out of number here, just a second. The second thing is, do not embrace the big lie. Do not pass on the opportunity to do things for the sake of Christ because you feel you are not qualified and you are not able within your own strengths and gifts. Remember this old saying, God doesn't call the qualified, He qualifies the called. And when He does that, He will make you God sufficient. He will make you God sufficient. God, through Jesus, will give you the strength, the power to accomplish whatever is needed. Amen. The third thing, pray. Ask God for the opportunities to do things for the sake of Christ. A simple prayer. You can start it each morning. Lord, give me the opportunity to accomplish things for the sake of Christ.
Amen.
How long does that take? Not that long. Second thing after that is to admit your weakness. Lord, I can't do it on my own. I recognize that. I'm a bit of a coward, Lord. I can't possibly do this. But you working through me, I know it can happen. Lord, give me what you gave Paul. Let's be bold. Give me what you gave Paul. And then you go forward in the strength of those scriptures and the promises they contain. Well, it doesn't hurt to continue praying every day as you do that. Let me give you two specific opportunities that we have need for here in this church that I ask you to prayerfully consider for the sake of Christ. For with our youth, we need male leadership. We have a Wednesday night youth group that meets from 6 to 8 on Wednesdays. And we need men. Waylon's doing a good job. He has 3 ladies helping her. But I'm wondering, where are the men? Where are the men? Why aren't they there helping? These young men and young women can benefit from your opportunities to be with them, from the leadership that you can provide them. If you're interested in doing that, see Waylon who's up on the balcony, and Keenan who's over here, Marla who's over there, and where is Amy's over here? Raise your hands, ladies. Men, you see the hands? Let me make this a direct challenge to you because we desperately need men to help our young people, to role model for them.
Amen.
And then the second thing is a program that Tina Haynes has started at the elementary school. She calls it a Special Friends Program, which is really, as I see it, a mentoring program for elementary school children. Specifically, she's looking for grandpas and grandmas. Those who've had the experience of raising children. She wants them to be positive role models for elementary school students who otherwise won't have those role models. No special training is needed. You just have to have a background check. You can get the form and pass the background and you're good to go. And the beauty of it is you may become as involved as you would like to become involved. You may do things like going to school once or twice a week and reading with what Tina calls a special friend. Or you can join that special friend for lunch or for recess. You might even attend special events at school and programs. You could acknowledge their birthdays and Christmas with a special gift or card. Be a special friend. Mentor a child for the sake of Christ. Please, stop telling yourself the big lie. Remember that in your weakness, Jesus' power is made perfect in you. And you can do all things because of the strength that Jesus gives you. Not some things, not a few things. You can do all things. All things. And as you do them, you're doing them for Jesus, and you're gifting Him in a special way. I'd like to conclude with this short little poem by St. Teresa of Avila. Christ has no body on earth but yours. No hands but yours. No feet but yours. Yours are the eyes through which it is to look out Christ's compassion to the world. Yours are the feet which He's about to go doing good. Yours are the hands with which He is about to bless now. For the sake of Christ. We don't need any other reason but for the sake of Christ. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I invite the ushers to come forward with this time, please.